Welcome to tonight's calm journey of deep discovery. The world above you is finally completely quiet. You can easily let go of the long day. We are traveling down to the dark ocean floor. Tonight we will explore deep-sea hydrothermal vents. We will uncover 100 truly fascinating scientific facts. These unique ecosystems thrive in absolute freezing oceanic darkness. Our slow descent takes us through calm midnight waters. The rough surface waves fade into a silent memory. Water pressure builds steadily with every single passing meter. We finally reach the vast abyssal plain below us. Here lies a completely hidden world of biological wonders. We will learn about very strange deep biological processes. Please breathe slowly as we begin our gentle exploration. Let the heavy dark water hold you completely safely. The deep ocean depths offer a wonderfully peaceful sanctuary. Simply close your eyes and drift downward with us now. We will explore these deep mysteries together quietly tonight. Our long journey into the dark abyss begins gently. Fact number 1 details the first vent discovery. Marine scientists discovered the very first hydrothermal vent ecosystem. This truly remarkable event occurred in 1977. Geological researchers explored the deep Galapagos Rift ocean ridge. They used a tiny submersible vessel formerly named Alvin. The exact depth was 2,500 meters. The scientific expedition was originally planned as purely geological. The geologists expected to find only completely barren rocks. Instead, they found a massively thriving deep biological community. Giant red tube worms dominated the dark volcanic landscape. Large white clams clustered tightly around the warm fissures. The water temperature here reached 17 degrees Celsius. This contrasted sharply with the freezing ambient water. Absolutely no sunlight could ever reach this extreme depth. Normal photosynthesis was completely impossible in this total darkness. It proved life could exist without solar energy. Researchers realized Earth held vastly different hidden biological ecosystems. Our basic understanding of life expanded greatly that day. We now move deeper to uncover another fascinating truth. Fact number 2 explains the complex food web. These deep ecosystems rely entirely on specialized chemosynthetic bacteria. Warming sunlight does not drive this hidden biological engine. Instead, tiny microbes use chemical energy from vented minerals. Toxic hydrogen sulfide flows constantly from the rocky vents. This chemical is highly toxic to surface life. Yet these deep-sea bacteria consume it eagerly. They oxidize the sulfide to produce organic matter. This vital process is formally known as microbial chemosynthesis. These tiny microbes form the absolute foundational food layer. They grow in thick mats across the rocks. Some bacteria live symbiotically inside the larger vent animals. This chemical conversion yields truly enormous deep biological productivity. The resulting biomass rivals tropical rainforests in sheer density. Up to tens of thousands of organisms coexist. They pack tightly into a single square meter space. Without these microbes, the vent would be barren. Life finds energy in the most unlikely places. The warm chemical fluids sustain a completely hidden metropolis. Fact number 3 focuses on black smoker temperatures. Deep hydrothermal fluids can easily reach extreme thermal limits. The water emits at 400 degrees Celsius. This is hot enough to melt solid lead. Yet the water does not actually boil here. The immense hydrostatic ocean pressure prevents any actual boiling. At 3,000 meters the water pressure is immense. It measures 300 atmospheres of crushing force. This pressure keeps the superheated fluid in strictly liquid form. The dark fluid shoots upward at incredibly high velocities. It travels at speeds of 5 meters per second. The fluid contains dissolved iron and sulfur minerals. It hits the freezing 2-degree seawater instantly. The sudden cooling causes minerals to precipitate rapidly. This creates the illusion of thick black smoke. These mineral particles eventually settle on the seafloor. They slowly build massive chimney structures over time. Organisms live mere centimeters from this lethal heat. They navigate this extreme boundary with perfect grace. Fact number 4 describes incredibly rapid mineral chimney growth. These tall mineral structures grow at truly astonishing speeds. Some chimneys can grow 30 centimeters per day. This makes them the fastest growing geological formations. A structure named Godzilla reached 40 meters tall. It grew in the Pacific Ocean off Oregon. Scientists carefully measured its height in 1991. Godzilla eventually collapsed under its own massive weight. Yet the vent immediately began rebuilding a new spire. The hot fluids carry constant supplies of silicates. Copper and zinc sulfides also construct the walls. The outer walls are highly porous and fragile. Cold seawater seeps through the outer mineral layers. This creates complex microhabitats within the chimney walls. Bacteria colonize these tiny pores in massive numbers. The chimneys are essentially living towers of rock. They constantly change shape as fluid flows shift. The Earth continuously reshapes these incredible deep architectural wonders. Fact number 5 introduces the giant tube worm. Its formal scientific name is known as Rifsha pachyptela. These worms can grow up to 3 meters long. They lack both a mouth and a digestive tract. Instead, they rely on a specialized internal organ. This highly specialized internal organ is called the trophisome. It safely houses billions of symbiotic chemosynthetic vent bacteria. The worm absorbs hydrogen sulfide through its plumes. These bright red plumes act like specialized gills. The red color comes from complex hemoglobin molecules. This hemoglobin binds both oxygen and toxic sulfide. It transports these chemicals directly to the bacteria. The bacteria then produce sugars for the worm. Rifsha worms are the fastest growing marine invertebrates. They can grow almost 2 meters in 2 years. They form dense thickets around the warm fluids. These thickets provide shelter for many smaller species. They thrive where most life would quickly perish. Fact number 6 features the remarkable Pompeii worm. This creature is the most heat-tolerant animal known. It lives on the sides of active black smokers. The worm constructs paper-thin tubes of mucus. Its tail rests in water at 80 degrees Celsius. Its head extends into 20-degree ocean water. This creates a massive 60-degree thermal temperature gradient. The gradient exists across its 10-centimeter body. A thick fleece of bacteria covers its back. These bacteria act as a thermal insulation blanket. They produce specialized proteins to survive the heat. The worm feeds these bacteria with secreted mucus. In return, the bacteria protect the worm from burning. They also detoxify heavy metals from the vent fluid. The Pompeii worm moves constantly within its tube. This movement pumps cold water over its sensitive gills. It perfectly manages its extremely harsh thermal ocean environment. Fact number 7 introduces the fuzzy yeti crab. Researchers discovered this crustacean in 2005. They originally found it far south of Easter Island. The depth was 2,200 meters. The crab is completely blind and lacks eyes. Its claws are covered in dense pale setae. These hair-like structures resemble thick blonde fur. The crab uses this fur to farm its food. Filamentous bacteria grow thickly within these arm hairs. The crab waves its arms in the vent fluid. This motion bathes the bacteria in essential chemicals. It provides the microbes with sulfide and oxygen. The crab then harvests the bacteria for nourishment. The scientific name is Kiwa hirsuta for this species. Yeti crabs gather in dense swarms near fluid seeps. Their pale bodies stand out against the dark basalt. They are careful farmers of the deep ocean floor. Fact number 8 details the extreme vent fluid acidity. Black smoker fluids are incredibly acidic by nature. The pH level often drops to 2.8. This makes the water as acidic as pure vinegar. The high acidity results from deeply dissolved magmatic gases. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide lower the pH significantly. Normally such acid would dissolve calcium carbonate shells. Yet clams and mussels thrive in these exact conditions. They possess thick protective protein layers on their shells. This layer prevents the acid from dissolving their armor. The fluid is also completely devoid of dissolved oxygen. It contains heavy metals like lead and cadmium. These metals are toxic to almost all known biology. Vent organisms use special proteins to bind these metals. They store the toxins safely in isolated body tissues. This prevents cellular damage from the heavy metal exposure. The fluid composition changes as tectonic plates shift. Deep earthquakes can entirely alter the chemical mixture overnight. Life here must constantly adapt to fluctuating toxicity. Fact number 9 explores the white smoker vents. Not all hydrothermal vents produce black mineral smoke. White smokers emit a much cooler chemical fluid. Their temperatures range from 20 to 90 degrees Celsius. These fluids are highly alkaline rather than acidic. The pH can reach levels of 10 or 11. Instead, they contain abundant barium and calcium compounds. These lighter minerals precipitate to form white chimneys. The Lost City hydrothermal field is a famous example. Scientists discovered it in the year 2000. It sits on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge mountain chain. The chimneys here are made of pure white limestone. Some of these white towers reach 60 meters high. The chemical reactions here produce high amounts of methane. Methane supports a completely different type of microbial life. These systems can remain active for thousands of years. We now look at how these creatures spread globally. Fact number 10 explains the mystery of larval dispersal. Hydrothermal vents are highly isolated from one another. Active vents may be separated by hundreds of kilometers. Yet the same species populate these distant vent fields. The answer lies in microscopic swimming larval stages. Adult vent animals release millions of tiny larvae upward. The warm vent plume carries them high into ocean currents. Deep ocean currents transport these larvae across massive distances. The larvae enter a state of suspended metabolic animation. They survive in the freezing water for many months. They drift blindly until they detect a chemical signature. A new vent plume triggers them to swim downward. They settle on the fresh rocks and quickly mature. Many tiny larvae perish in the cold, dark ocean voids. Only a very lucky few find a new hydrothermal home. This fragile network connects the deep-sea ecosystems together. Fact number 11. The Pompeii worm tolerates very extreme temperature gradients. This marine polychaete lives on black smoker chimneys. Its tail rests in water reaching 80 degrees Celsius. The head remains in much cooler surrounding seawater. This cooler water measures only 22 degrees Celsius. Such a gradient spans nearly 60 degrees across its body. No other complex animal survives such continuous extreme heat. A fleece of bacteria covers the worm's back completely. These microbes secrete special proteins to insulate the worm. Scientists discovered this remarkable adaptation in 1980. The worm measures 13 centimeters in total length. It builds papery tubes attached directly to the mineral chimneys. These tubes provide a safe haven from ocean currents. The microbes also feed the worm through complex chemical exchanges. French researchers named it after the ruined Roman city. Volcanic ash covers Pompeii much like the vent's mineral snow. This creature redefines the thermal limits of complex organisms. Pressure changes during retrieval usually prove fatal to them. Fact number 12. Chemosynthesis replaces photosynthesis in these dark underwater realms. Sunlight cannot penetrate beyond 1,000 meters deep. Vent ecosystems rely entirely on geothermal energy sources. Microbes use hydrogen sulfide to produce organic carbon. This toxic gas would kill most surface marine life instantly. Vent bacteria possess special enzymes to process the sulfide. They oxidize the chemicals emerging from the Earth's crust. This oxidation releases energy to bind carbon dioxide molecules. The resulting sugars sustain the entire biological community here. Researchers first understood this process in 1979. It proved life could exist independently of the sun. These bacteria grow in thick mats across the seafloor. Some mats measure several centimeters thick near active vents. Grazing animals consume these bacterial carpets for daily nourishment. Other animals host the bacteria inside their own bodies. This symbiotic relationship forms a highly efficient biological factory. The chemical energy output rivals some shallow water coral reefs. Geothermal heat effectively replaces solar radiation down here. Fact number 13. The scalyfoot snail builds its shell using iron sulfides. Scientists call this creature Chrysomalon squamiferum in formal taxonomy. It lives exclusively in the Indian Ocean hydrothermal fields. The snail absorbs iron dissolved in the superheated vent fluid. It deposits this metal into its outer shell layer. The shell contains gragite and pyrite mineral compounds. The gragite mineral makes the snail shell naturally magnetic. No other known animal uses iron sulfide for skeletal material. Its fleshy foot also features overlapping iron-plated scales. These scales protect the soft tissue from predatory crabs. The metallic armor deflects the venomous darts of coned snails. Researchers discovered this unique mollusk in 2001. It resides at depths of 2,800 meters. The snail houses symbiotic bacteria in a specialized esophageal gland. These internal microbes provide all necessary nutritional requirements. The snail never needs to forage for external food sources. Mining threats recently placed this species on the endangered list. Fact number 14. White smoker vents differ significantly from black smoker chimneys. They emit lighter-colored minerals into the cold surrounding ocean water. These fluids contain high levels of barium, calcium, and silicon. The water temperature is noticeably lower than black smokers. White smoker fluids range from 260 to 300 degrees. The lack of iron sulfides creates the distinct pale plume. These chimneys often form on the periphery of hotter vent fields. The mineral deposits create delicate, highly porous physical structures. Calcium carbonate precipitates quickly as hot fluid meets cold seawater. These formations grow taller and more fragile over time. Some white smokers tower over 20 meters above the seafloor. Different microbial communities colonize these cooler, alkaline environments. They support unique species of clams and blind shrimp. The fluid flow rate tends to be slower and steadier. These vents can remain active for tens of thousands of years. Their chemical signatures provide clues about ancient Earth conditions. Fact number 15. The Yeti crab farms its own food on its body. Scientists discovered this strange crustacean in 2005. It lives along the Pacific-Antarctic ridge at extreme depths. The crab measures 15 centimeters in total length. Dense, pale bristles cover its long, extended front claws. These structures are called setae in biological terms. Filamentous chemosynthetic bacteria grow thickly upon these claw hairs. The crab waves its arms gently through the vent fluids. This rhythmic motion washes fresh nutrients over the bacterial colonies. The movement ensures the microbes receive constant hydrogen sulfide. The crab then uses special mouthparts to harvest the bacteria. It grazes on the garden growing on its arms. This farming behavior represents a highly specialized evolutionary adaptation. The Yeti crab lacks functional eyes in the dark abyss. It relies on chemical sensors to locate active hydrothermal vents. Hundreds of these crabs often cluster tightly around fluid seeps. They compete fiercely for the optimal thermal positions. Fact number 16. The Rimicaris exoculator shrimp possesses no normal visual organs. These creatures swarm the mid-Atlantic ridge hydrothermal vent fields. Populations can reach 3,000 individuals per square meter. They live in total darkness 2 miles below the surface. Instead of eyes, they have a specialized dorsal organ. This unique structure sits just beneath their transparent carapace. The organ contains a light-sensitive pigment called rhodopsin. It detects the faint infrared glow emitted by superheated water. Natural black body radiation creates this invisible thermal illumination. The shrimp use this sensor to avoid boiling alive. They must stay close enough to vents to feed properly. Vent fluids provide the hydrogen sulfide needed by their bacteria. However, moving too close means instant death in extreme heat. The thermal sensor acts as a vital proximity warning system. Scientists discovered this remarkable infrared vision in 1989. The dorsal organ connects directly to the shrimp's brain. This adaptation allows safe navigation in a lethal environment. Fact number 17. Giant vent tube worms are the fastest growing marine invertebrates. The species Riftia pachyptela can grow 85 centimeters annually. Some individuals reach over 2 meters in total length. They achieve this massive size without possessing a digestive system. The adult worm has no mouth, no stomach, or intestinal tract. Instead, they rely entirely on an internal organ called the trophisome. Billions of symbiotic bacteria inhabit this specialized tissue structure. The worm's red plume absorbs oxygen and hydrogen sulfide. Complex hemoglobin molecules transport these chemicals to the bacteria. This specialized blood prevents the toxic sulfide from killing the worm. The microbes synthesize organic carbon to feed their giant host. This incredible growth rate allows rapid colonization of new vents. Hydrothermal vents are highly unstable and temporary geological features. A vent may only remain active for a few short decades. The tube worms must grow and reproduce before the vent dies. When the mineral fluid stops flowing, the entire colony perishes. Fact number 18. The Lost City hydrothermal field operates on different chemical principles. Scientists discovered this area in the year 2000. It sits 15 kilometers away from the mid-ocean ridge axis. Unlike black smokers, these vents are not driven by magma. They rely on a geological process called serpentinization. Seawater reacts chemically with exposed mantle rocks called peridotite. This exothermic reaction produces substantial amounts of heat. The resulting fluids are highly alkaline and rich in hydrogen. Temperatures here only reach a mild 90 degrees Celsius. The mineral chimneys consist primarily of white calcium carbonate. Some of these structures tower 60 meters above the seafloor. The Poseidon chimney is the largest formation in the field. The ecosystem supports fewer large animals than typical black smokers. Instead, dense microbial biofilms coat the carbonate towers. These resilient microbes consume methane and hydrogen directly. The Lost City has remained active for 30,000 years. This longevity far exceeds typical magma-driven vent systems. Fact number 19. Vent fluids can exceed 400 degrees Celsius without boiling. This phenomenon occurs due to immense hydrostatic pressure. At 3,000 meters deep, pressure is 300 atmospheres. This crushing weight physically prevents water from turning into steam. Instead, the water enters a supercritical physical state. Supercritical fluids possess properties of both liquids and gases. They can dissolve minerals much more efficiently than normal water. This deep fluid leaches metals from the crustal rocks. It carries high concentrations of iron, copper, and zinc. The fluid becomes very buoyant from extreme heat. It shoots upward through cracks in the seafloor. The velocity can reach 2 meters per second at the exit. Upon hitting freezing seawater, the dissolved minerals instantly precipitate. This rapid cooling creates the iconic dark smoke clouds. It also builds the towering chimneys layer by microscopic layer. The transition from supercritical fluid to cold water is violent. Marine life clings to these sharp thermal boundaries. Fact number 20. The discovery of hydrothermal vents completely shocked the scientific world. Marine geologists first found them in 1977. They were exploring the Galapagos Rift in the Pacific Ocean. The submersible Alvin carried 3 scientists to the bottom. They expected to find barren rocks and cold mud. Instead, they discovered a vibrant oasis of unknown life. Giant clams and red-tipped tube worms clustered around warm water springs. No marine biologist was present on this geological expedition. The geologists had to describe the strange animals themselves. They captured samples using the submersible's mechanical claws. This finding shattered the established rules of biology. Before this, all life seemingly depended on solar energy. The vents proved that geothermal energy could sustain complex ecosystems. It remains one of the greatest biological discoveries in history. Since then, researchers have found hundreds of active vent fields. They exist in every major ocean basin on the planet. Each site reveals completely new and unique biological marvels. Fact number 21. The Yeti crab cultivates its own deep ocean food source. These pale crustaceans live near extreme Antarctic hydrothermal vent systems. Scientists first discovered them in the year 2005. Their large claws feature dense patches of long pale bristles. These thick bristles trap specific strains of chemosynthetic ocean bacteria. The crab gently waves its claws in the vent fluid. This rhythmic motion bathes the trapped bacteria in vital nutrients. The microbes absorb methane and hydrogen sulfide directly underwater constantly. They multiply rapidly in the warm underwater chemical fluid currents. The Yeti crab then harvests this fresh microscopic bacterial crop. It uses specialized mouthparts to scrape the hairy white bristles. This unique farming behavior sustains incredibly dense deep crab populations. Researchers counted 600 crabs per single square meter area. They cluster tightly around the warm underwater fluid emissions. Freezing cold water surrounds them on all outer sides. This delicate balance relies entirely on steady vent flow. Fact number 22. Marine viruses control the deep vent ecosystem population dynamics perfectly. Billions of invisible viral particles exist in deep vent fluids. They specifically target the local chemosynthetic marine bacteria living strains. These tiny viruses quickly infect and destroy host microbial cells. This violent process releases trapped carbon back into ocean water. Other organisms then consume this newly freed carbon food supply. Scientists officially call this the marine viral carbon shunt mechanism. Without viruses, bacteria would consume all available deep ocean nutrients. Rapid ecosystem collapse would follow this severe natural resource depletion. Researchers sampled active underwater vent plumes in 2015. These deep ocean viruses possess highly specialized extreme heat resistance. Their protein coats withstand extreme thermal fluctuations very easily indeed. They remain perfectly stable at temperatures exceeding 90 degrees Celsius. The local viral infection rate peaks during tidal shifts. Changing ocean pressure alters the flow of vent fluids. This microscopic warfare continues endlessly in the dark depths. Fact number 23. The Pompeii worm tolerates extreme temperature gradients every single day. This unique polychaete worm attaches firmly to active black smokers. Its tail rests deep inside the boiling underwater vent chimney. Temperatures reach exactly 80 degrees Celsius constantly down right there. Its head extends outward into the freezing surrounding ocean water. The ambient ocean water sits at just 22 degrees Celsius. This creates a massive internal temperature drop across its body. No other complex animal survives such intense marine thermal extremes. A thick protective layer of living bacteria covers the worm. This living bacterial fleece acts as a biological thermal blanket. It insulates the fragile worm from the searing underwater heat. The microbes also detoxify dangerous heavy metals in the water. The worm secretes special mucus to feed these helpful bacteria. They form a perfect symbiotic relationship in total darkness. Protein structures usually unfold quickly at such high temperatures. These adaptations prevent cellular damage from the boiling water. Fact number 24. The Lost City hydrothermal field features highly unique underwater chemistry. Ocean researchers first discovered it in the year 2000. It sits directly atop the Atlantis Massif underwater mountain range. This pale site differs completely from typical black smoke vents. The towering vent chimneys consist of pure white calcium carbonate. Some towering mineral structures reach 60 meters into the darkness. The chemical fluid temperatures remain relatively cool at this location. They range safely from 40 to 90 degrees Celsius overall. The surrounding vent water is highly alkaline with high pH. The chemical vent fluid contains almost no carbon dioxide gas. Instead, it releases massive quantities of pure underwater hydrogen gas. A geological process called serpentinization drives this entire unique system. Seawater reacts chemically with exposed mantled rock deep down below. This reaction generates heat and hydrogen without any magma. Microbes use this pure hydrogen to produce organic molecules. Tiny snails and small crabs dominate the white towers. Fact number 25. Individual hydrothermal vents possess surprisingly short active geological ocean lifespans. A typical black smoker chimney lasts only a few decades. Tectonic activity constantly shifts the deep ocean floor rocky crust. Underground earthquakes frequently disrupt the fragile natural ocean plumbing systems. A single violent geological tremor can instantly choke a vent. Mineral deposits also slowly clog the narrow interior chimney walls. The flow of hot fluid eventually stops completely forever underwater. When a vent dies, the surrounding biological ecosystem collapses entirely. The chemosynthetic bacteria lose their vital chemical underwater food supply. Dependent tube worms and giant clams starve within several months. The vibrant underwater oasis transforms into a barren ocean graveyard. Yet entirely new vents constantly open in nearby geological regions. The surviving vent organisms must quickly colonize these new sites. Their microscopic larvae drift through the dark ocean currents. Only a tiny fraction ever find an active vent. Life here exists in a constant state of migration. Fact number 26. The deep scalefoot snail wears thick armor made of iron. This unique gastropod lives deep in the Indian Ocean vents. Marine scientists first discovered it in 2001. The snail actively incorporates heavy iron sulfides into its shell. It also grows thick metallic iron scales on its foot. These hard scales consist of gragite and pyrite metallic minerals. Gragite makes the snail completely magnetic in its basic nature. No other known marine animal uses iron in this way. The heavy iron armor serves a very specific defensive purpose. It defends against the venomous darts of predatory ocean snails. These thick metallic scales easily deflect sudden lethal underwater attacks. The snail harbors symbiotic bacteria inside its special internal gland. This massive gland represents a huge organ inside its body. The bacteria produce all the food the snail needs. Its circulatory system is highly modified for extreme survival. It possesses a massive heart to pump necessary oxygen. Fact number 27. Hydrothermal vents actively accumulate massive deposits of pure solid gold. The superheated fluids dissolve precious metals deep underground almost constantly. Magma chambers deep below provide these highly valuable trace elements. The boiling acidic water carries dissolved gold toward the surface. When hot fluid meets freezing seawater, it cools extremely rapidly. The sudden temperature drop forces dissolved metals to precipitate out. Solid gold particles fall directly out of the dark fluid. They settle into the massive sulfide mounds just below gracefully. Some vent deposits contain incredibly high concentrations of solid gold. These concentration levels reach up to 20 parts per million. This concentration far exceeds typical land-based commercial surface gold mines. Mining companies desperately want to harvest these valuable seafloor minerals. However, commercial mining would destroy the fragile deep vent ecosystems. The massive machines would crush the unique biological communities. Sediment plumes would smother living organisms many miles away. Biological preservation holds far more value than the gold. Fact number 28. Some deep ocean vent fluids exist in a supercritical state. This occurs at extreme depths and extremely high water temperatures. The Mid-Cayman Rise contains the deepest known ocean hydrothermal vents. They sit exactly 5,000 meters below the ocean waves. The pressure here is 500 times normal atmospheric levels. Temperatures push past 400 degrees Celsius very easily here. Under these conditions, water behaves very strangely indeed underwater today. It crosses the supercritical threshold of standard physical earthly matter. It becomes a dense and highly reactive hot fluid medium. Supercritical water strips minerals from rock with incredible chemical efficiency. It rapidly dissolves elements that normally resist slow chemical weathering. This bizarre fluid jets forcefully out of the seafloor chimneys. It looks like shimmering and distorted glass in total darkness. This strange phase of water transports massive heat amounts. Scientists first observed this phenomenon in 2008. They used robotic submersibles to measure the fluid properties. Fact number 29. Every active hydrothermal vent produces a totally unique acoustic signature. The rushing fluids create continuous low-frequency underwater ocean sound waves. These rumbling sounds travel great distances through the dense water. The physical shape of the chimney alters the specific pitch. Mineral composition also changes the acoustic resonance quite significantly underwater. Some vents produce a deep and continuous rumbling background noise. Others emit higher-pitched whistling sounds constantly without any pause. Scientists drop hydrophones to record these beautiful underwater natural symphonies. They can successfully identify vent types just by listening carefully. The sound helps researchers locate newly formed hidden vent fields. Marine biologists believe vent animals use these sounds too daily. Microscopic larvae might navigate toward the acoustic vent signals directly. The sound guides them safely through the pitch-black ocean. It acts as an underwater acoustic lighthouse for life. The noise level reaches up to 50 decibels locally. Geological violence always produces a steady and rhythmic hum. Fact number 30. Deep hydrothermal vents might be the true birthplace of life. Ocean scientists proposed this origin theory in 1992. The deep ocean offered vital protection from harsh solar radiation. Early Earth endured massive destructive meteorite impacts constantly back then. But the deep ocean remained perfectly stable and entirely safe. Alkaline vents provide a natural proton gradient quite naturally underwater. This chemical gradient mirrors the energy systems in living cells. The porous rock acts exactly like primitive biological cell walls. Iron and sulfur molecules catalyze very complex organic chemical reactions. These conditions perfectly support the creation of early RNA structures. Researchers recreated these vent conditions in modern laboratory settings successfully. They successfully generated basic amino acids from absolute chemical scratch. This strongly supports the deep-sea origin of life hypothesis. Our earliest ancestors likely evolved in total ocean darkness. They fed on chemical energy instead of sunlight energy. The dark abyss holds the secrets of our genesis. Fact number 31. The Wharf crab farms bacteria on its own chest. Scientists discovered this species in the year 2010. They live near East Scotia Ridge vents. The water temperature there is extremely cold. Crabs crowd together around the warm vent fluids. Densities reach up to 700 crabs per square meter. Their chests feature dense mats of hair-like structures. These hairs cultivate specific chemosynthetic bacterial colonies. The crab uses specialized mouthparts to harvest this bacteria. It literally grazes on its own chest garden. This adaptation ensures a constant food supply. The surrounding deep ocean offers very few nutrients. Male crabs occupy the warmest zones near the vents. Females move to colder waters to brood their eggs. Cold water protects the developing embryos from toxic minerals. This spatial separation creates distinct zones of crab populations. The species name is Kiwa tilleri. It represents a unique evolutionary strategy in the deep. They survive where other marine scavengers would quickly starve. This chest adaptation is a marvel of biology. Fact number 32. Viruses play a crucial role in hydrothermal vent ecosystems. They destroy millions of bacteria daily. This process releases trapped carbon back into the water. Scientists call this the viral shunt. Without viruses, bacteria would consume all available nutrients. The ecosystem would eventually collapse from resource depletion. Vent viruses exhibit remarkable genetic diversity. Researchers identified thousands of unique viral strains in vents. Many viruses contain entirely unknown genetic codes. They survive extreme temperatures up to 100 degrees. Infection rates are highest near black smokers. Here, bacterial densities reach billions per milliliter of water. Bursting bacteria feed other microscopic life. This microscopic recycling sustains the entire vent food web. Viruses also transfer beneficial genes between different bacterial species. This gene transfer accelerates bacterial evolution. Bacteria quickly adapt to changing vent fluid chemistry. The unseen viral war maintains perfect ecological balance. It happens constantly in the dark ocean depths. Every drop of vent water teems with viruses. They are the silent regulators of the deep sea. Fact number 33. Vent fluid salinity varies greatly due to phase separation. This process happens deep within the oceanic crust. Seawater seeps down and meets extremely hot magma. Temperatures exceed 400 degrees Celsius underground. The high heat boils the seawater under massive pressure. This boiling separates the water into two distinct phases. One phase is a low salinity vapor. The other phase is a concentrated salty brine. The vapor rises quickly and exits the sea floor. It creates vents with very low salt content. The heavy brine sinks deeper into the crustal rocks. It remains trapped there for many years. Tectonic shifts eventually release this dense brine. It erupts as extremely salty vent fluid. Salinity levels can be double that of normal seawater. Different animals prefer different salinity levels. This separation creates diverse microhabitats around vents. Scientists measure salt changes to predict volcanic eruptions. Dropping salinity indicates fresh magma rising. It is a reliable geological warning system. The fluid chemistry tells the ongoing story of the crust. Fact number 34. Hydrothermal vents might be the birthplace of all life. Scientist Michael Russell proposed this theory in 1989. He focused on alkaline hydrothermal vents in the ocean. These vents produce tiny iron sulfide bubbles in their chimneys. The bubbles act as natural microscopic cell walls. They separate alkaline vent fluid from acidic ocean water. This separation creates a natural electrical gradient. The gradient generates about 1 volt of continuous power. Early organic molecules used this power to form proteins. The walls concentrated these complex molecules together. They provided a safe haven from harsh ocean currents. Inside these pores, basic chemistry evolved into biology. RNA strands likely formed within these tiny rocky compartments. Eventually, these primitive structures developed their own lipid membranes. They left the bubbles to explore the ocean. Laboratory experiments have successfully replicated this energy generation. Researchers created artificial chimneys inside glass tanks. They observed spontaneous formation of simple organic compounds. This theory shifts focus from sunlight to geothermal energy. Life likely began in the dark abyss. Fact number 35. The Von Dam vent field defies traditional geological models. Researchers discovered it in the year 2010. It sits on Mount Dent in the Caribbean Sea. Mount Dent is an underwater mountain made of peridotite. Peridotite is solid mantled rock pushed to the surface. Standard vents form on volcanic basalt ridges. The Von Dam field has no underlying magma chamber. It generates heat through a process called serpentinization. Seawater reacts chemically with the exposed mantle rock. This reaction produces massive amounts of natural heat. The water temperature reaches 215 degrees Celsius. The vents release fluids rich in hydrogen and methane. They do not produce typical black smoke or clouds. The chimneys here consist of white talc and silica. Some talc chimneys stand over 70 meters tall. This discovery proved vents can exist far from volcanoes. It expanded the potential locations for deep-sea life. Millions of similar mountains exist across the ocean floor. Many might host undiscovered biological communities today. The deep sea always hides another secret. Fact number 36. Autonomous underwater vehicles use sound to map vent fields. Light cannot penetrate the deep ocean darkness. Robots must rely on advanced sonar technology instead. These vehicles glide 50 meters above the sea floor. They emit high-frequency acoustic pings into the water. The sound waves bounce off the jagged vent chimneys. Receivers measure the exact return time of each echo. This data creates highly detailed three-dimensional topographical maps. The resolution captures objects smaller than 1 meter. Sonar also detects the rising plumes of hot water. Vent fluids have a different density than cold seawater. This density difference scatters the acoustic signals. Scientists can literally hear the water boiling underwater. In 2015, an AUV mapped the Endeavour Ridge. It revealed over 600 individual vent chimneys. Most were completely unknown to marine researchers before. This acoustic mapping is much faster than visual surveys. It allows scientists to target specific vents for sampling. The robots work tirelessly in the crushing depths. They reveal the hidden geography of the abyss. Fact number 37. Hydrothermal vents concentrate rare earth elements in their chimneys. These elements are crucial for modern electronics and magnets. Vent fluids dissolve trace metals from deep crustal rocks. The hot fluid transports these metals to the surface. When the fluid meets cold seawater, minerals instantly precipitate. They build the chimney walls layer by microscopic layer. Over thousands of years, these deposits grow rich. Chimneys contain high levels of yttrium and lanthanum. Copper and zinc concentrations are also exceptionally high. The metal grades far exceed typical land-based mining ores. A single vent field can hold millions of tons. This mineral wealth attracts significant commercial mining interest. Mining companies have developed massive underwater robotic cutters. They plan to harvest these dormant vent chimneys. However, mining poses a severe threat to vent ecosystems. The dust plumes could smother delicate filter-feeding organisms. The noise would disrupt marine mammal communication networks. Scientists urge caution and strict environmental regulations. We must balance resource needs with ecological preservation. The deep sea remains a fragile frontier. Fact number 38. A typical black smoker chimney has a short lifespan. Most remain active for only a few decades. Intense geological forces constantly shift and change. Earthquakes frequently rock the mid-ocean ridge systems. These tremors can suddenly choke off the plumbing. Mineral deposits also slowly clog the internal fluid channels. Eventually, the hot water completely stops flowing. The chimney instantly loses its heat and nutrient supply. The surrounding biological community quickly dies or moves away. Without the hot fluid, the chimney structure weakens. Cold seawater seeps into the porous mineral walls. The sulfide minerals begin to oxidize and crumble. Within a few centuries, the towering structure collapses. It becomes a mound of metallic rubble on the seafloor. However, new vents often open just a few meters away. The cycle of destruction and creation is continuous. Massive sulfide mounds show thousands of years of history. They are built upon ruins of countless older chimneys. The landscape is perfectly dynamic and ever-changing. Nothing in the vent ecosystem is truly permanent. Fact number 39. The Pompeii worm tolerates extreme temperature gradients. It is one of the most heat-tolerant complex animals. Researchers discovered it in 1980 on the Pacific Rise. The worm lives inside tubes attached to black smokers. Its tail rests in water reaching 80 degrees Celsius. Its head extends into cooler 20-degree water. This creates a 60-degree temperature drop across its body. The worm is only about 13 centimeters long. No other known animal survives such a thermal gradient. The secret lies in a special bacterial fleece. Its back is covered in a thick bacterial mat. These bacteria secrete special proteins that insulate the worm. They act like a microscopic thermal blanket. The bacteria also feed on the toxic vent minerals. In return, the worm provides a stable home. The worm constantly pumps cold water through its tube. This pumping action helps regulate the internal temperature. Scientists study these worms to understand thermal adaptation. Their enzymes remain stable at near boiling temperatures. They are a biological miracle of the deep. Fact number 40. Ocean currents dictate the spread of vent life. Vent fields are isolated islands in the deep sea. They are often separated by hundreds of miles. Adult animals cannot swim between these distant locations. Instead, they release microscopic larvae into the water column. These tiny larvae drift with the ocean currents. They enter a state of suspended animation to survive. Their metabolic rate drops to conserve vital energy reserves. Some larvae can drift for over a month. They travel up to 100 kilometers away. They must find a new vent to settle. Chemical sensors help them detect faint vent plumes. When they smell the sulfur, they sink downward. If they miss the vent, they will die. The success rate of this journey is incredibly low. Yet it is enough to colonize newly formed chimneys. Deep ocean eddies can trap larvae in circular patterns. This keeps populations localized around specific ridge segments. Current patterns explain why different oceans have different species. The water flow shapes the entire biological map. Fact number 41. Viruses outnumber all other biological entities at hydrothermal vents. They play a crucial role in this deep ecosystem. These microscopic agents infect the local chemosynthetic bacterial populations. This infection process regulates the total bacterial biomass constantly. Every day, viruses destroy about 1/3 of bacteria. This destruction releases vital carbon back into the water. Other organisms then consume this dissolved organic carbon material. Scientists collected vent virus samples in 2005. They discovered highly unique genetic sequences in these viruses. Many viral genes had never been seen on Earth. These viruses also transfer beneficial genes between different bacteria. This horizontal gene transfer helps bacteria adapt to toxins. The deep ocean pressure does not hinder viral replication. Instead, viral activity peaks near the hottest thermal emissions. These invisible interactions shape the entire vent food web. The viral shunt keeps the deep sea nutrient cycle moving. Researchers estimate billions of viral particles exist per milliliter. This staggering density sustains the delicate abyssal chemical balance. They remain an unseen engine of deep ocean life. Fact number 42. The scalefoot snail wears armor made of iron sulfide. Scientists discovered this unique mollusk in 2001. It lives exclusively in the Indian Ocean vent fields. The snail absorbs toxic iron and sulfur from water. It converts these lethal minerals into protective metallic scales. The shell contains 3 distinct layers of specialized material. The outermost layer consists entirely of solid iron sulfides. A thick organic middle layer absorbs mechanical shock waves. The inner layer is heavily calcified for structural support. This 3-tiered defense protects against predatory crab claws perfectly. Even the military studied this extraordinary biological shell design. They hoped to develop stronger armor for human soldiers. The snail houses symbiotic bacteria within its esophageal gland. These bacteria produce all the necessary food for survival. The snail never needs to eat traditional organic matter. It simply absorbs dissolved minerals from the heated water. This creature represents a beautiful adaptation to extreme toxicity. Its metallic shell actually responds to strong magnetic fields. No other animal on Earth builds iron sulfide skeletons. Fact number 43. Giant vent tube worms are the fastest growing marine invertebrates. They belong to the species known as Riftia pachyptela. These tube worms can grow 85 centimeters in 1 year. This astonishing growth rate surpasses most shallow water organisms. They achieve this without possessing a mouth or stomach. Their bodies contain a specialized organ called a trophisome. Billions of symbiotic bacteria live inside this dark tissue. The tube worm absorbs hydrogen sulfide through its red plumes. Blood transports this chemical directly to the internal bacteria. The bacteria then manufacture sugars to feed the host. This highly efficient partnership fuels their rapid physical expansion. A barren vent can become a dense tube worm forest. This ecological transformation takes less than 24 total months. Tube worms can reach lengths exceeding 2.5 meters. Their white chitinous tubes provide shelter for smaller animals. Eventually, mineral deposits clog the vents and stop flow. Without hydrogen sulfide, the entire tube worm colony slowly dies. Their brief lives reflect the transient nature of vents. They bloom rapidly and vanish when the Earth shifts. Fact number 44. Hydrothermal vents produce distinct acoustic signatures in the ocean. Boiling fluids and escaping gases create constant underwater noise. These sounds travel vast distances through the dense water. The acoustic frequencies range from 10 to 50 Hz. This low rumble resembles a continuous distant thunderstorm. Hydrophones can detect these deep sounds from kilometers away. Scientists use this acoustic data to locate undiscovered vents. The noise volume correlates directly with the fluid velocity. Faster fluid emissions generate much louder acoustic pressure waves. Some researchers believe marine animals navigate using these sounds. Deep-sea larvae might listen for the vent rumbles. This auditory guidance could help them find new habitats. The soundscape changes when mineral chimneys begin to collapse. A sudden structural failure creates a sharp acoustic spike. Listening to the deep ocean reveals a dynamic environment. The ocean floor is never truly silent or still. These geological whispers carry crucial information about crustal activity. Each vent field possesses a unique acoustic fingerprint pattern. Monitoring these sounds helps predict future volcanic seafloor eruptions. Fact number 45. Most hydrothermal vent fields have remarkably short geological lifespans. A typical vent ecosystem lasts only decades to centuries. Tectonic plates shift constantly beneath the deep ocean floor. These slow movements eventually redirect the underground magma chambers. When the heat source moves, the thermal fluids stop. Mineral precipitation also slowly chokes the narrow fluid pathways. The towering chimneys seal themselves shut from the inside. Once the chemical flow ceases, the local ecosystem collapses. Mobile organisms must migrate quickly to find new vents. Sessile creatures like tube worms simply perish in the dark. A thriving biological oasis becomes a cold mineral graveyard. However, new vents open nearby as the crust fractures. This creates a shifting mosaic of life and death. Organisms have evolved specialized dispersal strategies for this instability. They release millions of microscopic larvae into ocean currents. These larvae drift for months seeking active thermal plumes. This fleeting existence defines the reality of vent ecology. Some massive vent fields manage to survive several millennia. But most biological communities vanish within a human lifetime. Fact number 46. The Yeti crab farms its own food on its claws. Scientists discovered this strange crustacean in 2005. It lives near vents along the Pacific-Antarctic ridge. The crab features long claws covered in dense setae. These pale yellow hairs resemble the fur of a yeti. The hairs provide a perfect surface for cultivating bacteria. The crab waves its hairy arms over the thermal vents. This rhythmic motion bathes the bacteria in chemical nutrients. The bacteria multiply rapidly in the warm toxic water. The crab then uses specialized mouthparts to harvest them. It scrapes the thick bacterial mats directly off its fur. This agricultural behavior ensures a steady and reliable food supply. Yeti crabs often gather in incredibly dense physical clusters. Researchers counted up to 600 crabs per square meter. They pile on top of each other near the warmth. This proximity helps them survive the freezing ambient ocean temperatures. Their unique farming strategy represents a brilliant evolutionary adaptation. They never need to hunt or scavenge for external prey. Fact number 47. Certain vent shrimp possess a highly specialized dorsal eye. The species Rimicaris exoculata lacks normal stalked compound eyes. Instead, it features a massive light-sensing organ on its back. This unique organ sits directly beneath its transparent carapace. It cannot form visual images or see distinct shapes. The eye only detects faint thermal radiation from the vents. Extremely hot vent water emits a dim infrared glow. Humans cannot see this invisible light with naked eyes. The shrimp uses this optical sensor for thermal navigation. It helps the creature find the nutrient-rich warm water. More importantly, the eye prevents the shrimp from boiling. If it swims too close to the source, it dies. The dorsal eye acts as a critical proximity warning system. The photoreceptors in this organ are highly sensitive to light. Bright lights from deep-sea submersibles can blind them permanently. Scientists now use red light to study these delicate creatures. Their vision is perfectly tuned to the dark abyss. This adaptation shows how life exploits even invisible energy. Fact number 48. Hydrothermal vents fundamentally regulate the global ocean chemical balance. The entire volume of the ocean circulates through vent systems. This massive filtration cycle takes about 10 million years. Cold seawater seeps deep into the fractured ocean crust. The intense volcanic heat alters the water chemistry completely. Magnesium and sulfate are stripped from the descending water. These elements become permanently locked within the crustal rocks. Simultaneously, the water absorbs calcium, iron, and silica. The heated fluid then erupts back into the ocean. This continuous exchange maintains the current composition of seawater. Without vents, rivers would make the ocean increasingly salty. The vents act as a giant subterranean chemical refinery. They remove excess minerals introduced by continental terrestrial runoff. This buffering effect has stabilized ocean chemistry for eons. Marine life depends entirely on this specific chemical equilibrium. Coral reefs require the precise calcium levels maintained by vents. The deep earth directly nurtures life in the shallow sunlit zones. Scientists only understood this global geochemical cycle recently. Vents connect the molten mantle to the global biosphere. Fact number 49. A specific octopus species lives exclusively near hydrothermal vents. Scientists call this creature Vulcanoctopus hydrothermalis. It was discovered near the East Pacific Rise in 1998. This small benthic predator lacks a traditional ink sac. Ink is useless in the absolute darkness of the abyss. The octopus has translucent skin and incredibly large eyes. It crawls slowly across the sharp mineral chimney structures. The creature hunts small crabs and amphipods near the heat. Its body is perfectly adapted to the extreme pressure. Unlike shallow species, it rarely swims in the water column. Swimming would consume too much precious metabolic energy here. Instead, it uses its sensitive arms to probe dark crevices. The arms detect subtle vibrations from hidden crustacean prey. Researchers have observed them exhibiting distinct territorial defense behaviors. They push other octopuses away from prime hunting spots. This species represents the only known fully vent-endemic cephalopod. Their existence proves complex predators thrive in toxic environments. They remain a mysterious and rarely seen ocean phantom. Fact number 50. Fossilized hydrothermal vents exist on dry continental land masses. Ancient tectonic collisions pushed ocean floor rocks onto land. Geologists found fossilized vent chimneys in the Ural Mountains. These preserved structures date back to the Silurian period. They are over 400 million years old today. The fossil record shows ancient tube worms and primitive clams. These extinct communities closely resemble modern deep-sea ecosystems. This proves vent life has survived multiple mass extinctions. While dinosaurs perished, vent organisms continued thriving in darkness. The deep ocean insulated them from asteroid impacts completely. They also survived devastating global ice ages without harm. Some ancient vent deposits are now valuable terrestrial mines. These sites provide humanity with rich copper and zinc ores. The minerals in our electronics originated in ancient black smokers. Studying these fossils helps astrobiologists understand early Earth life. It provides clues for finding life on other distant planets. The ancient rocks hold secrets of our planetary origins. They show how resilient chemosynthetic life truly is. Time barely alters these isolated deep ocean biological systems. Fact number 51. Deep sea vent microbes produce natural biodegradable plastics. These complex compounds are officially called polyhydroxyalkanoates. Bacteria use these molecules to store excess carbon. The deep ocean is a highly unpredictable environment. Nutrient levels can fluctuate wildly around active vents. Microbes save their energy when food is abundant. They convert organic molecules into highly durable polymers. These polymers form tiny granules inside their cells. The plastic granules resemble microscopic pearls under microscopes. They take up over 80% of cell volume. During starvation periods, they consume these stored plastics. Scientists discovered this process in the late 90s. Industrial researchers study these deep-sea bacterial polymers. They hope to create sustainable alternatives to synthetic plastics. The natural degradation process leaves no toxic residue. Enzymes break the material down into harmless water. Carbon dioxide is the only other remaining byproduct. This adaptation ensures microbial survival during vent dormancy. It shows how resourcefulness evolves in total darkness. Researchers cultivate these strains in high-pressure bioreactors. This research bridges deep ocean ecology and green technology. The process occurs at temperatures around 40 degrees. Fact number 52. Hydrothermal vents significantly impact the global iron cycle. Vent fluids contain massive amounts of dissolved iron. Scientists originally thought this iron precipitated almost immediately. They assumed it settled near the vent chimneys. Recent studies from 2015 proved otherwise. Organic molecules bind to the dissolved iron particles. These complex molecules act like protective chemical shields. They prevent the iron from oxidizing and sinking. Ocean currents carry this stabilized iron vast distances. Some dissolved iron travels thousands of kilometers away. It eventually upwells to the sunlit surface waters. Phytoplankton rely heavily on this deep-sea iron. These microscopic plants desperately need iron for photosynthesis. The vent iron fuels massive surface algae blooms. These blooms produce much of the oxygen we breathe. They also draw carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Deep ocean vents are linked to surface weather. The connection spans miles of dark vertical water. Earth operates as one deeply interconnected biological machine. Iron concentrations in vent plumes are extremely high. They measure millions of times above background levels. Fact number 53. The Von Dam vent field features unusual geology. It is located on the Mid-Kaiman Rise. Researchers discovered this site in 2010. Most hydrothermal vents form along volcanic spreading centers. The Von Dam field sits on a tectonic mountain. This mountain consists of solid upper mantle rock. The specific rock type is called ultramafic peridotite. Seawater reacts chemically with this exposed mantle rock. The chemical reaction generates significant amounts of heat. This geological process is widely known as serpentinization. It produces fluids rich in hydrogen and methane. The vents here form mounds of pure talc. These talc chimneys are exceptionally fragile and soft. The soft mounds glow faintly under submersible lights. Fluid temperatures reach 215 degrees Celsius. Unique shrimp species dominate the local biological community. They graze on microbial mats covering the talc. The vent field lies 2,300 meters deep. Its existence proves vents can form without magma. Tectonic faulting alone can drive hydrothermal circulation systems. This broadens the potential locations for deep life. Fact number 54. A unique octopus species lives exclusively near vents. The animal's official scientific name is Vulcanoctopus hydrothermalis. Scientists first observed it in 1998. They found it near the East Pacific Rise. This creature lives 2,600 meters deep. It is the only known benthic vent octopus. The deep-sea animal lacks an ink sac entirely. Ink is useless in the perpetual deep darkness. Its body is completely devoid of functional chromatophores. Chromatophores normally allow octopuses to change their color. This vent resident remains a ghostly translucent white. Its eyes are highly modified and very small. They likely only detect faint bioluminescent light flashes. The octopus crawls slowly over hot basalt rocks. It navigates by feeling the chemical water gradients. Its arms are relatively short and highly muscular. It preys primarily on swarms of vent amphipods. The creature uses its webbed arms to trap them. It avoids the dangerously hot exiting vent fluids. This species perfectly adapted to a toxic neighborhood. Its slow movements conserve precious metabolic energy reserves. Fact number 55. Vent fluids undergo a process called phase separation. This phenomenon happens deep within the oceanic crust. Seawater heats up near the subterranean magma chambers. Temperatures exceed 400 degrees Celsius down there. The extreme pressure prevents the water from boiling. However, the fluid reaches a critical thermodynamic state. The hot fluid splits into two distinct physical phases. One phase is a high salinity liquid brine. The other is a low salinity vapor phase. The dense brine sinks deeper into the crust. The buoyant vapor rises quickly toward the seafloor. This phase separation fundamentally alters the vent chemistry. Metals concentrate heavily in the sinking brine phase. Dissolved gases concentrate heavily in the rising vapor phase. Some vents emit mostly vaporous, gas-rich fluids. Other vents release dense, metal-rich brine solutions. This creates diverse microhabitats for different microbial communities. Phase separation drives the complex chemistry of vents. It explains why neighboring chimneys can look different. The physical properties of water change at depth. Scientists study this using specialized titanium pressure vessels. Fact number 56. Viruses are incredibly abundant in hydrothermal vent ecosystems. Every drop of vent water holds millions of them. They easily outnumber living bacteria by 10 to 1. These specific deep-sea viruses are surprisingly beneficial. They drive rapid evolution among vent microbial communities. Hydrothermal vent environments change constantly and very violently. Microbes must adapt quickly to shifting chemical gradients. Viruses facilitate this adaptation through horizontal gene transfer. They infect a bacterium and copy its DNA. The virus then carries this genetic material away. It injects the useful genes into another microbe. These rapidly transferred genes often contain survival traits. Some genes provide resistance to toxic heavy metals. Others offer new ways to process hydrogen sulfide. This genetic exchange creates a shared community genome. It allows the entire microbial population to survive. Researchers collect these viruses using fine mesh filters. They carefully sequence their DNA in surface laboratories. The viral diversity at vents remains largely uncharted. They form the invisible architects of vent ecosystems. Their microscopic influence shapes the entire biological network. Fact number 57. Individual black smoker chimneys have remarkably short lifespans. Most chimneys remain active for only a decade. Some collapse after just a few short months. Mineral deposition happens at an incredibly rapid pace. A chimney can grow 30 centimeters each day. The walls are made of porous sulfide minerals. These tall structures are structurally weak and brittle. They often grow too tall for their bases. Ocean currents push against the fragile mineral spires. Seismic activity frequently shakes the active ridge axis. The towering chimneys eventually snap and crash downward. When a chimney falls, the vent fluid continues. It immediately begins building a new mineral structure. The fallen debris accumulates around the vent base. This creates massive mounds of metal-rich sulfides. These mounds can reach 50 meters in height. The seafloor is littered with broken chimney fragments. The constant cycle of growth and destruction continues. Vent animals must constantly relocate as structures collapse. The vent landscape changes dramatically from year to year. No two visits to a site look identical. Fact number 58. Vent tube worms possess highly specialized crimson blood. Their blood contains a unique form of hemoglobin. Human hemoglobin only transports oxygen through the body. Deep-sea tube worm hemoglobin is much more complex. It binds simultaneously to oxygen and hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide is highly toxic to most animals. It normally blocks cellular respiration and causes death. The worm hemoglobin safely captures the toxic molecules. It transports them to the symbiotic bacteria inside. The hemoglobin molecule is massive compared to ours. It contains exactly 144 protein chains. Normal human hemoglobin contains only 4 protein chains. This large size prevents it from leaking out. The blood makes up 30% of their weight. The blood flows rapidly through their delicate red plumes. The bright red plumes act as efficient gills. They absorb the necessary chemicals from the water. This specific biochemical adaptation is an evolutionary masterpiece. It allows worms to thrive in toxic gradients. Scientists study this protein for artificial blood substitutes. It remains stable outside of red blood cells. Fact number 59. Hydrothermal vents exist beneath solid Antarctic ice shelves. Scientists discovered the hidden Kemp caldera vents recently. They lie deep near the South Sandwich Islands. The water temperature surrounding the vents is freezing. It frequently drops just below 0 degrees Celsius. Yet the hydrothermal vent fluids emerge boiling hot. This creates the most extreme thermal gradient known. The extreme thermal contrast distorts the water visually. Cameras struggle to focus through the shimmering haze. The isolated biological community here is entirely unique. Researchers found previously unknown species of yeti crabs. These crabs huddle tightly around the warm fluid. They cultivate bacteria on their hairy white chests. Huge predatory sea stars patrol the vent periphery. Pale ghost anemones cling to the dark rocks. The surface is permanently blocked by thick ice. No sunlight ever reaches this isolated polar ecosystem. The discovery required specialized ice-breaking research vessels. Remotely operated vehicles navigated the treacherous freezing depths. These polar vents are isolated from global currents. They act as evolutionary islands in the deep. Life finds a way under the frozen caps. Fact number 60. Active hydrothermal vents are surprisingly noisy underwater environments. The rapidly exiting fluids generate distinct acoustic signatures. Superheated water rushes out of narrow mineral chimneys. The vent fluid moves at meters per second. This rapid vertical flow creates continuous broadband sound. It sounds like a low, rumbling underwater waterfall. Phase separation also adds to the acoustic profile. Tiny bubbles of gas collapse under high pressure. This extreme cavitation produces high-frequency popping noises. Each vent field produces a unique sonic fingerprint. The pitch depends on the chimney opening size. Much larger openings produce deeper resonant bass tones. Ocean researchers use specialized underwater microphones called hydrophones. They safely record these complex ocean soundscapes from afar. The noise helps scientists locate undiscovered vent fields. Some marine animals might use these sounds too. Vent larvae drift freely in the open ocean. They must find a suitable vent to settle. Scientists suspect larvae can hear the vent rumble. They swim toward the acoustic signal in darkness. The sound travels far through the dense water. It acts as an acoustic beacon for life. The deep ocean environment is rarely completely silent. Fact number 61. Viruses play a crucial role in hydrothermal vent ecosystems. They outnumber bacteria by incredibly vast margins down here. Millions of viral particles exist in a single drop. These viruses infect the local chemosynthetic bacteria constantly. When infected bacteria burst open, they release organic matter. This process is known as the viral shunt pathway. It prevents carbon from sinking into the deeper sediments. Instead, the carbon remains available for other microorganisms. Scientists measured viral abundance at the Juan de Fuca Ridge. They found up to 50 million viruses per milliliter. This high viral load accelerates nutrient cycling near vents. It ensures a steady supply of dissolved organic carbon. The viruses themselves adapt to extreme heat and pressure. Their genetic material shows unique stabilizing protein structures. These structures prevent DNA degradation at high temperatures. Without viruses, the vent food web would likely collapse. They keep the microbial population in a healthy balance. This unseen microscopic war sustains the larger vent animals. The viral shunt is essential for ecosystem survival. Fact number 62. Some vent shrimp have evolved incredibly unique visual organs. The species Rimicaris exoculator lacks traditional stalked eyes entirely. Instead, they possess a large dorsal organ on their back. This specialized organ contains highly sensitive light detecting cells. It cannot form distinct images like a normal eye. However, it perfectly detects faint thermal radiation from vents. The hydrothermal fluids emit a very dim infrared glow. This glow is invisible to the naked human eye. The shrimp use this sensor to navigate the darkness. It helps them find the nutrient-rich vent fluid flows. It also prevents them from swimming into boiling water. The organ contains a light-sensitive pigment called rhodopsin. Researchers studied these shrimp at the mid-Atlantic ridge. They found the shrimp swarming exactly at safe distances. The temperature gradient changes drastically within mere millimeters. Their dorsal eyes keep them in the optimal feeding zone. This evolutionary adaptation is highly specific to hydrothermal vents. It demonstrates life's remarkable ability to sense subtle energy. Fact number 63. Inactive hydrothermal vents hold massive deposits of precious minerals. When a vent stops flowing, the biological community dies. However, the towering mineral structures remain on the seafloor. These dormant chimneys are called seafloor massive sulfide deposits. They contain high concentrations of copper, zinc, and silver. Some deposits hold significant amounts of pure oceanic gold. The minerals accumulate over thousands of years of venting. Cold seawater eventually permeates the dying vent system. This process oxidizes the outer layers of the chimneys. It creates a protective crust over the valuable metals. Mining companies now target these inactive vent fields commercially. The Solwara 1 project in Papua New Guinea is an example. It sits at a depth of 1,600 meters. Scientists worry about the ecological impact of deep mining. Even inactive vents host specialized microbial communities today. Disturbing these sites could destroy undiscovered microscopic life forms. The debate over mining these mineral graveyards continues globally. These sulfide mounds can span several hundred meters across. Fact number 64. The lifespan of a hydrothermal vent field varies greatly. Some vent systems remain active for only a few decades. Others continue to expel hot fluids for many millennia. The duration depends entirely on the underlying volcanic activity. Fast-spreading mid-ocean ridges typically host short-lived vent fields. The East Pacific Rise spreads very rapidly each year. Vents here often die out within 10 to 20 years. Magma chambers shift quickly in these highly active zones. Slow-spreading ridges provide a much more stable geological environment. The Mid-Atlantic ridge spreads at a much slower pace. Vent fields here can persist for tens of thousands of years. The Tag hydrothermal field is an excellent example of this. It has been active for at least 50,000 years. Organisms must adapt to these shifting geological lifespans. In fast-spreading zones, animals grow and reproduce very rapidly. They must colonize new vents before their current home dies. In slow-spreading zones, the biological communities evolve more slowly. These stable environments foster different types of symbiotic relationships. Fact number 65. One vent snail incorporates actual iron into its body. The scaly-foot snail lives deep in the Indian Ocean. It builds a unique shell featuring 3 distinct layers. The outermost layer consists of iron sulfide minerals. These minerals include gragite and pyrite from the water. This is the only known animal to use iron this way. The snail also has a soft, fleshy foot underneath. This foot is covered in hundreds of hardened iron scales. The scales provide armor against predatory crabs and snails. The iron sulfides also make the snail slightly magnetic. Researchers discovered this remarkable creature in 2001. It thrives at depths around 2,400 meters. The snail relies entirely on symbiotic bacteria for food. These bacteria live inside a specialized internal esophageal gland. The iron armor helps detoxify the surrounding vent fluids. The scales absorb toxic sulfides before they harm the snail. This evolutionary design perfectly suits the harsh vent environment. It blends biology and metallurgy in a fascinating way. Fact number 66. Hydrothermal vent fluids are often incredibly acidic in nature. The pH levels vary depending on the geological setting. Black smoker fluids typically have a highly acidic pH. Their pH often ranges between 2.8 and 3. This acidity is comparable to concentrated commercial lemon juice. The extreme acidity results from complex high-temperature chemical reactions. Seawater reacts with hot basaltic rock deep underground. This reaction strips magnesium and hydroxide from the water. It leaves behind an excess of hydrogen ions. These hydrogen ions cause the fluid to become highly acidic. The acidic fluid easily dissolves metals from the surrounding rock. It carries copper, iron, and zinc toward the ocean floor. When this acidic fluid hits the alkaline cold seawater, minerals precipitate. This precipitation builds the towering chimney structures over time. Vent organisms must tolerate these severe chemical gradients daily. Many secrete protective mucus to shield their delicate tissues. Others possess specialized proteins to manage the internal acidity. The harsh chemistry creates a uniquely challenging biological habitat. Fact number 67. Hydrothermal vents continuously pump dissolved gold into the ocean. The intense heat melts traces of gold from oceanic crust. Superheated fluids carry this gold upward toward the seafloor. Most of this gold precipitates immediately upon hitting cold water. It becomes trapped within the massive sulfide chimney walls. However, a small fraction escapes into the surrounding seawater. Scientists estimate vents release significant gold quantities annually. This process enriches the deep ocean with trace precious metals. The gold concentration in vent fluids is extremely low. It measures only a few parts per trillion generally. Yet, the sheer volume of vent fluid is staggering. Over millions of years, vents have shaped ocean chemistry. Some ancient vent systems are now exposed on dry land. These fossilized vents form major commercial gold mining districts. The Abitibi Gold Belt in Canada is one prime example. It formed from ancient underwater hydrothermal vent activity long ago. The gold in our jewelry might have deep oceanic origins. The seafloor remains a vast, untouched repository of wealth. Fact number 68. The Von Dam vent field defies typical geological expectations. Researchers discovered this unique site in 2010. It sits on the Mid-Cayman Rise in the Caribbean Sea. Most vents form along the center of tectonic spreading ridges. The Von Dam field sits on a mountain off-axis. This mountain is a massive tectonic core complex structure. The chimneys here are not made of dark sulfide minerals. Instead, they are composed primarily of a mineral called talc. Talc is an extremely soft, magnesium-rich silicate mineral. The vent fluids here reach 215 degrees Celsius. They are unusually rich in volatile gases like methane. The field supports a dense population of blind vent shrimp. It also hosts unique species of tube-dwelling anemones. The discovery expanded our understanding of where vents can form. It proved that off-axis mountains can host active hydrothermal systems. The talc chimneys glow with a ghostly white appearance underwater. This site represents a completely different class of hydrothermal system. It highlights the endless geological diversity of the ocean floor. Fact number 69. Hydrothermal vents create a distinct and powerful acoustic environment. The deep ocean is generally considered a silent, tranquil place. However, active vent fields generate continuous low-frequency rumbling sounds. The noise originates from the violent mixing of different waters. Superheated fluids collide instantly with near-freezing deep ocean water. This collision causes rapid expansion and contraction of fluid pockets. It creates a broadband acoustic signature across the seafloor. Scientists use specialized hydrophones to record these deep vent sounds. The sound frequencies range from 10 to 500 Hz. Some researchers believe marine animals use this noise for navigation. Vent larvae might listen for the rumble to find homes. The sound can travel for several kilometers through the water. It acts as an acoustic beacon in the pitch-black darkness. Each vent chimney produces a slightly different acoustic tone. The tone depends on the chimney size and fluid velocity. Listening to vents helps scientists monitor their flow rates remotely. Changes in the rumble indicate shifts in underground volcanic activity. Fact number 70. Vent organisms must disperse their young across vast oceanic distances. Hydrothermal vents are isolated islands of life in the deep. When a vent dies, the local biological community perishes completely. Species survive by sending their larvae into the open ocean. These tiny larvae ride deep ocean currents for many months. They travel hundreds of kilometers through the freezing, dark waters. Their metabolism slows down to conserve vital energy during transit. They rely on lipid reserves stored inside their microscopic bodies. The journey is incredibly perilous with very low survival rates. Most larvae will never find a suitable new vent habitat. They eventually starve or fall prey to deep pelagic predators. However, a lucky few will detect the chemical signature of a vent. They sense traces of hydrogen sulfide in the water column. The larvae then swim downward to settle on the rocks. Once attached, they rapidly metamorphose into their adult forms. This dispersal mechanism connects distant vent fields across the globe. It maintains genetic diversity within the isolated deep-sea populations. Fact number 71 reveals the role of vent viruses. Viruses outnumber all other biological entities near hydrothermal vents. They silently control the massive populations of vent bacteria. A single drop of vent fluid contains millions of viruses. These microscopic agents infect bacteria thriving in the warm water. The infected bacteria eventually burst and release cellular material. This biological process is known as the viral shunt. It recycles vital carbon back into the deep ocean ecosystem. Without viruses, bacterial mats would consume all available local nutrients. Viruses also transfer important survival genes between different microbial species. Scientists first quantified these viral loads in 2004. They used specialized fluorescent dyes to count the viral particles. Deep-sea viruses show incredible resistance to extreme heat. Their protein coats remain stable at 90 degrees Celsius. These silent predators maintain the delicate balance of vent life. This microscopic warfare happens continuously in the dark abyss. Fact number 72 explores the BB hydrothermal vent field. This vent field is remarkably deep and incredibly isolated. It sits inside the Cayman Trough in the Caribbean Sea. Researchers discovered this extreme ecosystem in 2010. The vent rests nearly 5,000 meters below the waves. Water pressure here reaches 500 times atmospheric surface pressure. The fluid erupting from these chimneys is incredibly hot. Sensors measured the water temperature at 401 degrees. This makes it one of the hottest known vent systems. The extreme pressure prevents the superheated water from boiling. Instead, it becomes a supercritical fluid with unique physical properties. The BB field features chimneys taller than 10 meters. These towering structures constantly spew dark clouds of mineral ash. A British research team found the site using robotic submarines. They named it after the famous oceanographer William Beebe. This deep field expands our map of extreme marine habitats. Fact number 73 describes the vision of vent shrimp. Certain vent shrimp possess highly specialized light-sensing organs. These shrimp lack normal stalked eyes like their shallow cousins. Instead, they have a large V-shaped organ on their back. This organ contains a highly sensitive light-detecting pigment. The pigment is known as rhodopsin in the scientific community. Active hydrothermal vents emit a very faint thermal glow. This infrared glow is completely invisible to the human eye. The shrimp use their dorsal organ to see this radiation. It helps them find active vents in the pitch black. The organ also warns them if they get too close. Swimming too close to the black smoker means instant death. The water temperature shifts from 2 degrees to 300. The dorsal eye serves as a crucial thermal proximity alarm. Scientists confirmed this visual capability in 1989. The deep-sea shrimp rely entirely on this faint light. Fact number 74 examines rare earth elements in vent fluid. Hydrothermal vent fluids contain significant amounts of rare earth elements. Deep ocean water naturally holds very low concentrations of these. However, vent fluids carry up to 1,000 times more. The superheated acidic water strips these metals from basaltic rocks. As the fluid hits cold seawater, the metals quickly precipitate. They slowly build up within the walls of the chimneys. Over thousands of years, massive metal sulfide deposits accumulate here. Some inactive vent fields hold millions of tons of ore. Technology companies use these specific elements to build modern electronics. Smartphones and electric car batteries require steady supplies of them. This has sparked intense commercial interest in deep-sea mining. Mining companies want to harvest these dormant chimney structures entirely. Marine biologists worry about the potential environmental destruction involved. Mining machinery could easily crush fragile neighboring vent ecosystems. The debate over mining these rare elements continues today. Fact number 75 highlights an incredibly heat-resistant organism. A specific microbe holds the record for high-temperature survival. The organism is named Methanopyrus candleri by deep-sea biologists. It belongs to an ancient domain of life called Archaea. Researchers found this microbe at the Kyre hydrothermal vent field. Methanopyrus candleri survives at 122 degrees Celsius. This extreme temperature would normally destroy standard cellular proteins. This microbe uses a special salt to stabilize its structure. The salt prevents its genetic material from melting apart entirely. It does not rely on oxygen or sunlight for energy. Instead, it combines hydrogen gas and carbon dioxide from vents. This chemical reaction produces methane gas as a waste product. The microbe thrives in the porous walls of black smokers. Scientists successfully cultured it in a high-pressure laboratory vessel. The discovery expanded the known thermal limits of biological life. Such organisms might resemble the very first life on Earth. Fact number 76 details the acoustic environment of hydrothermal vents. Hydrothermal vents are surprisingly noisy environments in the deep ocean. The erupting fluids create distinct acoustic signatures underwater. Microphones dropped into the abyss record a constant low rumble. This sound resembles a continuous, distant freight train rolling by. The noise comes from several different physical processes occurring simultaneously. Turbulence generates sound as hot fluid mixes with cold seawater. Mineral particles frequently scrape against the inside of the chimneys. This bubble collapse creates sharp, high-frequency acoustic popping sounds. The overall vent sound travels for miles through the dark water. Marine biologists believe vent animals might use this acoustic beacon. Free-swimming larvae must find new vents to settle upon. The rumbling noise may guide them toward active thermal fields. Scientists recorded these sounds during a 2006 expedition. They used titanium-encased hydrophones to capture the deep audio. The vent symphony plays continuously in the absolute darkness. Fact number 77 uncovers fossilized vent ecosystems on dry land. Ancient hydrothermal vents exist preserved in terrestrial mountain ranges today. Tectonic forces occasionally push sections of seafloor onto continental plates. This geological process is known as an archaeolite emplacement. The Ural Mountains in Russia contain perfectly fossilized vent chimneys. These fossilized structures are over 400 million years old. They date back to the Silurian period of Earth's history. Geologists discovered intact sulfide mounds hidden within the rocky peaks. The ancient rock even contains the fossilized remains of tube worms. These prehistoric worms look remarkably like modern vent-dwelling species. Fossilized clam shells also surround the ancient mineral deposits. This proves that vent ecosystems have existed for immense periods. Similar fossil vents exist in the dry desert of Oman. Studying these dry fossils is easier than diving miles underwater. They provide a clear window into the deep history of oceans. These mountains hold the frozen echoes of ancient boiling seas. Fact number 78 explains how vents regulate ocean chemistry. Hydrothermal vents act as a massive chemical filtration system. They strictly regulate the exact chemical composition of the ocean. Rivers constantly dump dissolved minerals into the world's oceans. Without a removal mechanism, the oceans would become overly toxic. Vents process an enormous volume of deep seawater every year. The entire volume of the ocean cycles through the crust. This complete cycle takes roughly 10 to 20 million years. As cold seawater enters the crust, it heats up rapidly. The extreme heat forces magnesium to precipitate out of the water. The magnesium binds tightly to the surrounding basaltic ocean rock. In exchange, the heated water extracts calcium from the rocky crust. The heated fluid then carries this calcium back into the sea. Marine organisms desperately need this calcium to build their shells. Vents also remove excess sulfate from the circulating ocean water. This continuous chemical exchange keeps seawater chemistry incredibly stable. Vents truly act as the unseen kidneys of the global ocean. Fact number 79 focuses on the unique deep-sea barnacles. Specialized barnacles thrive on the outer walls of hydrothermal chimneys. The genus Neolepis represents a very common vent barnacle species. Unlike coastal barnacles, these creatures possess a long fleshy stalk. This stalk anchors them securely to the crumbling mineral rocks. The stalk also elevates them above the crowded chimney surface. This elevation gives them better access to passing ocean currents. Vent barnacles do not rely on sunlight-based food chains. Instead, they filter specialized bacteria directly from the vent water. They use feathery appendages called cirri to catch their food. The cirri sweep rapidly through the warm, flowing vent fluid. They trap clumps of sulfur-eating microbes drifting in the dark. These barnacles often grow in incredibly dense, overlapping clusters. A single square meter can hold thousands of individual barnacles. Their white shells create a stark contrast against black rocks. If the venting fluid gets too hot, they will quickly die. They balance precariously between freezing water and boiling fluid. Fact number 80 reveals the short lifespan of hydrothermal chimneys. Individual hydrothermal chimneys possess surprisingly short and incredibly violent lifespans. Geological time usually moves at an incredibly slow, glacial pace. However, vent structures can grow several centimeters in a single day. A single chimney can reach 10 meters tall in just months. The walls of a new chimney remain very thin and fragile. They are highly porous and very easily broken by ocean currents. Eventually, the internal mineral buildup clogs the main fluid channel. The pressure forces the hot fluid to find a new exit. The old chimney stops venting and begins to slowly decay. Cold seawater seeps in and weakens the remaining sulfide structure. Without the heat, the resident biological community quickly dies off. The dead chimney eventually collapses under its own immense weight. Most individual chimneys only remain active for a few decades. The fallen rubble forms a massive mound on the ocean floor. Brand new chimneys soon sprout from the ruins of the old. Fact number 81. Viruses play a crucial role in vent ecosystems. They outnumber bacteria by 10 to 1. These deep ocean viruses are mostly bacteriophages. They infect and destroy specific bacterial cells. This constant viral infection regulates the bacterial population. It prevents any single species from dominating completely. When bacteria burst open, they release organic matter. This process is called the viral shunt. It provides dissolved nutrients to other deep organisms. Scientists counted these viruses in 2015. They found millions of viral particles per milliliter. The viruses also transfer genes between different bacteria. This horizontal gene transfer accelerates evolutionary adaptation. It helps bacteria survive sudden thermal shifts. The viral community changes rapidly over short distances. Each vent hosts a unique viral genetic footprint. This microscopic warfare sustains the entire food web. Without viruses, the vent ecosystem would quickly collapse. The pressure here does not hinder viral replication. They thrive at 300 degrees Celsius. Their protein coats withstand extreme chemical acidity. These ancient viruses might predate cellular life forms. Fact number 82. The Von Dam vent field defies standard classifications. Researchers discovered it in 2010. It lies in the Caribbean Sea. Most vent chimneys consist of sulfide minerals. The Von Dam chimneys are built from talc. Talc is a very soft magnesium silicate mineral. These vents release fluids at 200 degrees. The field sits on an underwater mountain. This mountain is called the Mid-Kaiman Rise. It rises 3,000 meters above the seafloor. The talc structures reach 70 meters in height. They look like massive white underwater towers. The mineral composition changes the local water chemistry. It creates a highly alkaline environment around them. Unique microbial communities thrive on these soft walls. They extract energy from the unusual fluid emissions. The discovery expanded our definition of hydrothermal systems. It proved vents can form away from ridges. Geologists believe such talc vents were once common. They might have existed in ancient earth oceans. The soft chimneys slowly dissolve into the seawater. Fact number 83. Hydrothermal vents regulate the chemistry of global oceans. They act as a massive underwater filtration system. The entire ocean volume cycles through these vents. This complete cycle takes about 10 million years. Cold seawater seeps deep into the ocean crust. It travels down through cracks and narrow fissures. The water approaches the hot magma chamber below. Intense heat triggers complex chemical reactions underground. The seawater loses all of its dissolved magnesium. The magnesium binds to the hot surrounding rocks. In exchange, the water extracts calcium and potassium. It also absorbs iron and dissolved silica. The altered fluid shoots back into the ocean. This process keeps ocean salinity perfectly balanced. Without vents, the oceans would become too magnesium-rich. This would alter the formation of limestone rocks. Marine life depends on this steady chemical balance. Shell-building organisms require the calcium released by vents. The vents maintain a stable environment for millennia. They are the chemical heart of the sea. Scientists measured this exchange rate in the 80s. They confirmed the profound impact on global seas. Fact number 84. A unique octopus lives near deep Pacific vents. Its scientific name is Vulcanoctopus hydrothermalis. Researchers first described this species in 1998. This octopus has evolved in very unusual ways. It completely lacks an ink sac. Ink is useless in the pitch-black deep ocean. The creature is entirely blind to visible light. It relies heavily on sensitive tactile receptors. Its arms are covered in specialized sensory cells. These cells detect chemical traces in the water. The octopus hunts small crabs near the chimneys. It creeps slowly over the jagged mineral deposits. Its body is ghostly white and slightly translucent. The extreme pressure does not affect its tissues. It lives at depths of 3,000 meters. The water temperature near its habitat varies wildly. It avoids the scalding hot fluid streams carefully. This species has no known predators at vents. It represents a perfect adaptation to deep isolation. The lack of ink saves precious metabolic energy. Energy conservation is vital in this harsh realm. Fact number 85. Hydrothermal vents create a complex acoustic environment. The deep ocean is rarely completely silent. Vent fields generate continuous low-frequency rumbling sounds. These sounds come from boiling fluids underground. Water expands violently as it meets hot magma. This creates tiny bubbles that collapse under pressure. The collapsing bubbles produce distinct clicking noises. Mineral chimneys also hum as fluid rushes through. The structures act like giant underwater pipe organs. Scientists record these sounds using deep ocean hydrophones. The acoustic signature changes with fluid temperature. Hotter vents produce higher-pitched acoustic frequencies. Some marine animals might use these sound waves. Larvae could navigate toward vents by listening. The sound travels far in the dense water. It provides a reliable beacon in the dark. Researchers mapped these acoustic fields in 2000. They discovered that each vent sounds slightly different. The noise levels can reach 90 decibels locally. This constant hum is the heartbeat of vents. It guides new life to the thermal oasis. The acoustic data helps monitor hidden volcanic activity. It reveals pressure changes deep inside the crust. Fact number 86. Ancient hydrothermal vents exist on dry land today. Tectonic forces pushed ancient seafloors above the ocean. We call these formations archaeolites. One famous example lies in the Ural Mountains. These fossilized vents are 400 million years old. They formed during the Devonian geological period. Miners originally dug into them for copper ore. Scientists later recognized their true deep marine origins. The rocks contain fossilized tubes of ancient worms. These fossils perfectly match modern vent tube worms. The preservation of soft tissues is incredibly rare. Pyrite minerals replaced the biological structures over time. This process turned the ancient animals into stone. The discovery proved that vent ecosystems are ancient. Life has thrived at vents for geological eras. The chemical reactions remain unchanged across deep time. Studying these fossils reveals ancient ocean chemistry. It shows how marine life survived mass extinctions. The deep ocean provided a safe thermal refuge. These mountain rocks were once a boiling seabed. They hold the silent history of the deep. Fact number 87. Hydrothermal vents concentrate rare earth elements. These elements are vital for modern electronic devices. The superheated fluids dissolve metals from deep rocks. They carry yttrium and lanthanum toward the surface. When the fluid hits cold water, minerals precipitate. They form massive sulfide deposits on the seafloor. Some deposits contain high levels of valuable neodymium. The concentration is much higher than terrestrial ores. A single chimney can weigh thousands of tons. These structures grow steadily over thousands of years. Mining companies have mapped these deep ocean resources. They use autonomous submarines to survey the fields. Extracting these minerals poses severe environmental risks. Mining would destroy the fragile biological communities. The dust plumes could choke surrounding marine life. Scientists advocate for strict protection of these zones. The International Seabed Authority regulates these deep areas. They balance resource needs with ecological preservation. The minerals remain untouched in the dark depths. They form a glittering treasure in the abyss. The slow accumulation continues with every fluid pulse. Fact number 88. Vent organisms face a massive survival challenge. Their thermal habitats are temporary and unstable. A vent might suddenly stop flowing and die. Species must colonize new vents to avoid extinction. They achieve this through microscopic drifting larvae. Adult animals release millions of tiny swimming offspring. These larvae rise up into the water column. They catch deep ocean currents flowing above vents. The water carries them for hundreds of kilometers. Their metabolism slows down in the freezing water. This suspended state helps them survive long journeys. They drift in the darkness for many months. Most larvae will never find a new vent. They will slowly starve in the cold abyss. A lucky few detect chemical signals from below. They sense hydrogen sulfide in the water currents. The larvae swim downward toward the chemical source. They settle on fresh rock and quickly mature. This incredible journey connects distant biological communities. It maintains genetic diversity across the vast ocean. Researchers track these larval paths using genetic markers. The deep currents act as invisible aquatic highways. Fact number 89. Vent shrimp possess highly specialized sensory organs. The species Rimicaris exoculator dominates Atlantic vent fields. Adult shrimp completely lack normal stalked eyes. Instead, they have a large dorsal organ. This organ sits just beneath their transparent shell. It connects directly to their central nervous system. The organ cannot form visual images of objects. It functions solely as a thermal radiation detector. The superheated vent fluids emit a faint glow. This glow is invisible to the human eye. The shrimp sense this infrared light perfectly. It helps them find the nutrient-rich fluid streams. It also prevents them from swimming into boiling water. The organ contains light-sensitive chemical pigments. These pigments are similar to those in humans. The shrimp swarm the chimneys in dense clusters. There can be thousands of shrimp per square meter. They scrape bacterial mats off the mineral walls. Their unique eyes guide every movement they make. This adaptation is unique in the animal kingdom. It shows evolution responding to extreme environmental pressures. Fact number 90. Not all vent fluids emerge from tall chimneys. Much of the fluid seeps through the seafloor. This gentle seepage is known as diffuse flow. Diffuse flow covers much larger areas than chimneys. The water temperature is usually much lower here. It ranges from 5 to 50 degrees Celsius. The hot fluid mixes with cold seawater underground. This mixing creates a perfect habitat for microbes. Vast mats of bacteria grow on the rocks. They look like thick white carpets of snow. These areas support immense biological diversity. Crabs and anemones prefer these cooler diffuse zones. The gentle flow provides steady chemical nutrients. It lacks the violent turbulence of black smokers. Scientists estimate diffuse flow releases massive thermal energy. It might account for most vent heat loss. Researchers use remote sensors to measure these areas. The diffuse zones slowly shift over many years. They follow the changing cracks in the crust. This silent seepage sustains life in the dark. It forms the vast foundation of vent ecosystems. Fact number 91. Vent fluid composition changes dramatically over time. Earthquakes frequently alter the subsea floor plumbing system. A single tremor can reroute boiling water instantly. This shifts the chemical balance of an entire field. Scientists observed this at the East Pacific Rise. In 2006, a massive eruption occurred there. The salinity of the vent fluids dropped significantly. Phase separation causes these extreme salinity variations. Boiling separates the fluid into vapor and brine. Vapor contains high levels of hydrogen sulfide. Brine concentrates heavy metals like iron and copper. Different organisms respond to these chemical shifts differently. Some bacterial mats vanish within mere days. New species quickly colonize the altered mineral deposits. The ecosystem remains in a state of constant flux. Fluid temperatures can fluctuate by 50 degrees Celsius. These shifts happen over several months or years. Monitoring stations record these changes continuously. They reveal a highly dynamic underwater environment. Fact number 92. A vast biosphere exists beneath the hydrothermal vents. Microbes thrive deep within the rocky oceanic crust. They live in tiny cracks filled with superheated water. Scientists drilled into the crust in 2010. They found living cells 1 kilometer below the seafloor. Temperatures here often reach 120 degrees Celsius. This is near the absolute limit for known life. These subterranean microbes are mostly archaea and bacteria. They survive completely isolated from the surface world. They feed on hydrogen gas and dissolved carbon dioxide. This subsea floor realm forms a massive hidden ecosystem. It might contain more biomass than the visible vents. Water circulates through these deep rocks for thousands of years. The microbes slowly alter the surrounding basaltic rocks. They leave behind distinct chemical and mineral signatures. Researchers study these deep microbes using specialized drilling ships. Contamination from surface seawater must be strictly avoided. This deep biosphere expands our definition of habitable zones. Life persists wherever water and chemical energy meet. Fact number 93. Viruses play a crucial role in vent ecosystems. They are the most abundant biological entities here. 1 milliliter of vent fluid holds millions of viruses. These viruses specifically target the local bacteria and archaea. They drive continuous genetic exchange among the microbial populations. Scientists first catalogued these vent viruses in the 2000s. They discovered completely unique viral families in the deep. Many of these viruses possess highly unusual shapes. They help control the massive bacterial blooms around vents. By infecting cells, they release trapped nutrients back into water. This process is called the viral shunt. It fuels the entire microscopic food web. Vent viruses also carry auxiliary metabolic genes. These genes help their hosts survive toxic heavy metals. They can even enhance sulfur oxidation in infected bacteria. The viral infection rates here are extremely high. Nearly 1/3 of all vent bacteria are infected. This constant viral pressure accelerates microbial evolution significantly. The deep sea remains a massive reservoir of viral diversity. Fact number 94. Hydrothermal vents leave lasting records in ancient rocks. Fossilized vent ecosystems provide clues to early Earth. In 2017, scientists made a stunning discovery. They found ancient vent fossils in northern Quebec. These rocks are nearly 4 billion years old. They contain tiny microscopic tubes and iron filaments. These structures perfectly match modern vent bacteria formations. They represent some of the oldest known life forms. Ancient oceans were completely devoid of dissolved oxygen. Early vents spewed massive amounts of iron into the water. The first microbes likely used this iron for energy. Fossilized chimneys from the Ural Mountains show similar patterns. They date back over 400 million years. These younger fossils preserve actual worm tubes and shells. Studying these rocks helps us understand biological evolution. The vent environment has remained remarkably stable over eons. Modern vent organisms closely resemble their ancient ancestors. They survived multiple mass extinction events on the surface. These ancient rocks guide our search for extraterrestrial life. Fact number 95. Modern industries now target hydrothermal vents for mining. Vent chimneys contain massive deposits of valuable metals. They are rich in copper, gold, zinc, and silver. These formations are called seafloor massive sulfides. A single inactive chimney can weigh several thousand tons. Mining companies plan to harvest these mineral-rich structures. The International Seabed Authority regulates these deep water activities. They have issued dozens of exploration contracts since 2001. Commercial mining poses a severe threat to vent ecosystems. Extracting the chimneys would destroy the immediate biological habitat. It would also create massive plumes of toxic sediment. These sediment clouds could choke filter-feeding organisms miles away. Mining noise could disrupt marine mammal communication pathways. Scientists urge extreme caution regarding deep-sea extraction. Many vent species live nowhere else on the planet. Destroying a single field could cause immediate species extinction. Researchers are currently mapping vent biodiversity to establish protected areas. The debate between resource extraction and conservation continues today. The future of these fragile habitats remains highly uncertain. Fact number 96. Hydrothermal vents generate their own unique acoustic signatures. The deep ocean is rarely completely silent. Boiling fluids create distinct low-frequency rumbling sounds. Mineral chimneys act like massive underwater organ pipes. They resonate as superheated water rushes through them. Scientists record these soundscapes using specialized deep-water hydrophones. Each vent field produces a slightly different acoustic frequency. The sounds can travel for several kilometers underwater. Researchers believe marine life uses these sounds for navigation. Blind shrimp larvae might listen for the vent rumble. This helps them locate active fields in complete darkness. The acoustic profile changes just before an underwater eruption. The rumbling pitch drops significantly as magma chambers shift. Monitoring vent sounds helps predict deep-sea volcanic activity. In 2015, hydrophones captured a massive eruption. The sound data matched subsequent visual surveys perfectly. These acoustic studies reveal a complex sensory environment. Deep-sea creatures possess highly sensitive hearing mechanisms. They rely on vibration rather than sight to survive. Fact number 97. Vent organisms must acquire their essential bacterial partners. This process is called symbiont transmission. Different species use entirely different transmission strategies. Giant tube worms acquire their bacteria from the surrounding water. This is known as horizontal environmental transmission. Tube worm larvae are born completely without bacterial symbionts. They possess a functioning mouth and a simple gut. They settle on the rock and ingest local bacteria. The bacteria then migrate into a specialized internal organ. After this, the tube worm loses its mouth and gut forever. In contrast, vent clams use vertical transmission methods. The mother clam passes bacteria directly to her eggs. The clam larvae are born already carrying their chemical factories. This guarantees survival in the harsh vent environment. Scientists discovered these mechanisms using advanced DNA sequencing. They track the bacterial genomes across multiple host generations. The coordination between host and bacteria is incredibly precise. It represents millions of years of strict coevolution. This partnership forms the absolute foundation of vent life. Fact number 98. Vent ecosystems vary dramatically across different ocean basins. Scientists divide the global ocean into distinct biogeographic provinces. The East Pacific rise is dominated by giant tube worms. You will not find these tube worms in the Atlantic Ocean. The Mid-Atlantic ridge teems with billions of blind shrimp. These shrimp swarm over the towering black smoker chimneys. The Indian Ocean features a unique mixture of species. It contains both Atlantic shrimp and Pacific snails. The Mariana Back Arc Basin hosts hairy vent snails. Antarctic vents are ruled by predatory Yeti crabs. These regional differences stem from ancient tectonic plate movements. Deep ocean currents also act as invisible geographic barriers. They prevent larvae from crossing between major ocean basins. A mid-ocean ridge acts like an underwater highway. Species slowly migrate along these active volcanic fault lines. However, deep trenches can completely halt this biological migration. This isolation drives the evolution of entirely new species. Each vent province represents a unique biological kingdom. Our map of these deep-sea territories remains incomplete. Fact number 99. Hydrothermal vents profoundly influence global ocean chemistry. They are not just isolated biological curiosities. Vents continuously pump massive amounts of iron into the sea. This dissolved iron travels for thousands of kilometers. It eventually reaches the sunlit surface waters above. Phytoplankton rely on this deep-sea iron to grow. These microscopic plants produce half of the oxygen we breathe. Vents also remove certain chemicals from the ocean water. Magnesium is stripped from seawater as it enters the crust. This continuous exchange maintains the chemical balance of the ocean. Without vents, the oceans would have a vastly different composition. Vents also play a role in the global carbon cycle. Vent microbes consume methane before it reaches the atmosphere. Methane is a highly potent greenhouse gas. By trapping methane, these ecosystems help regulate Earth's climate. Scientists measure these chemical fluxes using autonomous underwater vehicles. The deep sea is intimately connected to the surface world. Every breath we take relates back to the ocean floor. Fact number 100. Hydrothermal vents likely exist beyond our own planet. Moons in our outer solar system hide massive liquid oceans. Jupiter's moon Europa has a deep global saltwater ocean. Saturn's moon Enceladus shoots massive plumes of water into space. In 2015, the Cassini spacecraft flew through these plumes. It detected microscopic silica nanoparticles and molecular hydrogen gas. On Earth, these specific compounds only form at hydrothermal vents. This strongly suggests active hot springs exist on Enceladus. The rocky core interacts with the dark, hidden ocean. This creates the perfect chemical conditions to support life. NASA is currently designing missions to explore these alien oceans. The Europa Clipper will scan for signs of biological activity. Studying Earth's vents prepares us for these future space missions. We test our robotic sensors in the deep Pacific trenches. The dark abyss of our ocean mirrors the void of space. Life on Earth may have started at a hydrothermal vent. Life elsewhere might begin in the exact same way. The universe might be filled with dark, warm, living oceans. We have reached the end of our deep-sea journey. 100 facts about the incredible hydrothermal vent ecosystems. We traveled from the sunlit surface to the crushing depths. We explored towering chimneys of gold, copper, and iron. We met tube worms, blind shrimp, and ancient subterranean microbes. These ecosystems challenge our basic understanding of biology. They show us that life is incredibly resilient and adaptable. In the absolute darkness, biological communities flourish and multiply. They do not need the warmth of the sun. They draw their energy from the beating heart of the earth. The ocean floor is not a barren, empty wasteland. It is a vibrant, dynamic world full of hidden wonders. Every volcanic eruption brings forth new possibilities for life. Every chemical plume feeds a vast, unseen food web. We still have so much left to discover down there. The deep ocean remains our final unexplored earthly frontier. Thank you for joining me on this long, peaceful descent. I hope these mysteries have brought you a sense of calm. The deep sea is quiet, steady, and eternal. Let the gentle currents carry your thoughts away. Good night, dear listener. Sleep well.